Hello, my name is Sam Koppel, and for this video essay, I'll identify the cultures I feel I belong to and why. Though before I talk about my individual culture identity, I want to define what culture means. From listening to our class discussions and how I feel about culture, I would identify culture as a customary of beliefs where social form and social norms are created based on traits of religious, racial, or social groups of people. This comes from traditions passed down from centuries ago to generation that we still carry with us today and that we are taught from our families and society. Additionally, I believe that culture serves as an identity for us, culture identifies people. For me personally, I've been identified into three cultures, which are Iranian, Jewish, and American. Though after critically thinking about this, I feel I have more of a connection with being American than I do with being Jewish and Iranian, which I'll explain in my video essay. So to start with, my Iranian culture, this comes from my mom and her family, as my mom was born and raised in Iran. My mom and her family had to leave during Iran during the Iranian Revolution because my family was Jewish, and during that time the Shah came into power and was very Muslim oriented, and since my family was Jewish, they were forced to leave. And since my family did move, my mom does not like some of the culture aspects that Iran did have, but she tried to bring some of the culture identities back to the United States with her family. For example, my mom and her family only speaks Farsi when they're together. They only eat Iranian foods, and we still celebrate holidays together as a family. Though on my mom's side of the family, my mom and I are the only people that are white. Everyone else has a darker skin, and culturally, most of my cousins do speak Farsi and I don't. So I don't really have that connection with Iran other than the food and the culture that we celebrate as a family. My mom and I also talked about the connections to her Iranian cultures, and she said in Iran it was really sexist and she didn't want to bring those things to me. She didn't like how people were always late in Iran, and she didn't like how things were different based upon religion and stuff. So she just tried to bring the family beliefs to me from Iran. But I do feel like since my mom has a little bit of a disconnect from Iran, I do too, because I don't have the same connection, but I still have the family ties of being Iranian. To transition into being Jewish and Judaism within my family, this comes from both my parents. Both my parents were Jewish growing up. And while growing up, I actually had to go to synagogue every week with my parents, and eventually I went to Sunday school. And growing up through this religion and going to Sunday school every single week, I realized that I didn't necessarily like going to the Sunday school. I didn't like being taught a new language that I didn't know what I was saying, and there was a lot of things within the program I didn't like at the Sunday school. Though I did get bar mitzvahed, when I was done with my bar mitzvah, I didn't have to go to Sunday school, into the synagogue every week like I was forced to when I was younger. But I did have to go to holidays with my family, and my family does celebrate every Jewish holiday. So we'd go to the synagogue, and then we'd go visit someone at someone's house with the family and celebrate there. Thinking over the years why I didn't necessarily like the whole synagogue and going to the Jewish temple was because I felt like I got made fun of as a kid for being Jewish. Also, I noticed a lot of kids doing different things than me on specific days on the weekends, and I wasn't able to go to like my sporting events, and I wasn't able to do little things that meant a lot to me at the time, which made me resent the culture a little bit. I've always believed in a God, but I've never felt like I had to go worship and pray to a God to have a connection with a God, which is where my disconnect from Judaism comes. The last culture I identify with is being American. I guess the reason I identify American and it has the most connection to me and I feel a connection with it is because I was born and raised here. I've been born and raised in an American society. I've been in the same school district going through kindergarten to when I graduated. Now being an adult, I strongly believe in this Constitution and the amendments, and I believe in the military that we do have here. And I followed the same steps as my great grandparents, who were also American. With going to college, getting my education, wanting to have kids, being in a fraternity like my great grandpa and my grandpa and my dad, were all things that they've done as Americans and have been having this American dream attitude that they've passed on to me, which I hold on closely today. So when we think about culture, I think the reason why I identify with culture, or the American culture, the strongest, is because I feel so close to my American identity compared to my Judaism identity or my Iranian identity, because I feel like with the society that I have here, I'm able to be the American person I want to be and have American pride. And that's my culture report. Thank you.